So today we're going to do something kind of unusual. I apologize for the shot, but we are going to take something traditional and make it digital. So needs must. So what I have here are the thumbnails from our last video. So you can see they are on paper with blue lines with graphite. And you can check out that video here. And I'm recording this by request of my students in my Nashville Making Comics and Zines class. And if you don't live in Nashville, but you join my Patreon, you'll have access to not only this video, but loads of other videos, loads of other resources. I've been really making a lot of stuff for this class. So they requested that I do a scanning demonstration. So I have here my large format scanner. This is an Epson Expression 1000 XL. These are pretty expensive. This is not what I would recommend unless you are scanning something like watercolor pages all the time. And I really started out with a Canon brand scanner, I believe. And it was a, it was like a Picto scan or something. I really liked it. The only problem was that I often couldn't stitch. I had to scan my pages in two halves, and I often couldn't stitch the images together. So this was an investment that saved me a lot of time, but it's not necessarily an investment that's going to benefit everyone. So I'm going to turn on my scanner. I'm going to adjust the camera so you guys can see what I'm doing a little bit better, and I apologize for how weird this is. And I'm going to open up Epson Scan, which is the native scanning application for this device. And it works so much better than trying to get Photoshop to do it. And it might want to be troublesome today because isn't that how it goes sometimes? All right, so I thought I had it down in the bottom. There we go, it's just loading slow. It's sleepy today. And yes, I am one of those people who has 10 bajillion things up at all times. When you're writing blog posts and you're doing videos and you're researching things and you're making comics, you're gonna have a lot of blog posts up, or a lot of web pages up. So this is, and I apologize that this isn't a screen capture. I'm not really a fan of using screen capture software on my Surface Pro because it doesn't work particularly well. So I have here my scanning menu and I have here my preview window. I'm going to go ahead and load my page into my scanner. And I don't load it to the edge because for some reason my scanner doesn't like to scan to the edge. So I load it about an inch in. And I'm going to, so my settings are 300 DPI. If I'm scanning watercolor pages, I will go for 600 DPI. And if the camera starts shaking, I apologize. I have it on a chair and a cat is trying to nuzzle it. Yet the cat won't come on camera so I can make that sweet, sweet internet money. Anyway, I am going to go ahead and hit preview. It's on regular color scan because I find that when I drop it to grayscale, it gets grainy. Which is fine. These are thumbnails. That's a thing I could do. But I like capturing the blue lines too because I often use these as in my blog posts and in some of my videos. So I'll just go ahead and move the camera. So I have here my preview. I need to resize it so that it captures the whole area. And I'm going to hit scan, and I'm not actually going to change what folder it goes to because ever since Windows updated like 2 updates ago, that makes the application crash. So this is a get in, get out procedure. It's scan. And it'll take about a minute to scan this. If you're scanning at 600 DPI, it can often take 2 or 3 minutes per page. So just kind of, if you're doing a 30-page comic, just kind of understand that a lot of your day is going to be taken up by scanning things. Scanity scan, scan, scan. And I really, really apologize for how inelegant that is. Perhaps my editor would be so kind as to cut all of that out. Okay, so it shows up in my pictures, which is kind of where it natively wants to go. I'm going to remove my page from my scanner. I'm going to put in my other page. And I'm going to just repeat the process. I don't click to have a thumbnail. I don't really need that. I'm not really sure what benefits that does other than it scans it at a lower resolution, so it like automatically makes a file small enough to be a thumbnail. All right, I've got my second page of thumb scanned. I'm just going to go through the same procedure. So with my Canon scanner, I had it so that I could scan using Photoshop. That was fine. This is fine too. The only problem with this is if I'm doing watercolor pages, I need to do some color adjustments. And I have blog posts where I talk about doing color adjustments. And it's really a case-by-case basis thing. There's a couple of things I do every page, but you know, that's just kind of base adjustments, and then I have to fine tweak it from there. Okay, you want to wait until it's fully scanned and until the window pops up. Now we're going to take a trip back to 2005 when people used to record their TV screens for LPs. Again, I really hate using the capture software on my Surface Pro 3. I'm looking to upgrade to a different Surface Pro, something that has a little more GPU, a little more chewing power, because it just really slows my machine down so much that it's almost unusable. So I am in Photoshop. I'll zoom in for you guys. And this isn't a statement of like, oh, Photoshop is the best program. This is what I learned how to use. So I'm going to open up those scans, which are in pictures, I believe. Yeah. Open them both up by holding Shift and then pressing Enter. Wait till they both load. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate them. Under image rotation. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to image. I'm going to go to mode. Sorry about that. I'm going to go to grayscale. And as you can see, that drops some of the non-photo blue. Image mode, image adjustments, curves, and it brings up this graph here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up the dark, like bump up dark lines, and then I'm going to drag this down here. And I'm basically looking for my blue, what was originally my blue lines, to disappear, leaving just the black graphite. I'm going to do the same thing over on the other page. So image mode, grayscale, discard color information, image adjustments, curves, bump that up, bump that down. And if you're not quite following me, I do have a blog post on this. So now we have our pages in black and white. I'm going to go to image mode, duotone, because I've already created a non-photo blue setting. And to create this setting, you're going to go over here to the C, the M, the Y, and the K values. You're going to change your C to 24, your M to 0, your Y to 3, your K to 0. And then you're going to save it. I save mine as non-photo blue. I'm going to do the same thing on this page here. Ta-da! So next, we need to crop and resize these. So I'm just going to select the crop tool and grab the whole of the page, even adjusting it a little bit for the border. Then I'm going to go to image, image size, and I want to change it to a 6:9 ratio. So I changed the width to 6, and I'm going to keep it at a 300 resolution. Actually, that would be if I'm converting it to roughs, but I'm not doing these as roughs. I'm actually doing these as, I'm going to go from thumbnail to printing it right on the page I want. So, here's a toughie because I haven't decided my paper. I'll be back in just a sec. I am going to print my individual pages on Fabriano Studio Watercolor. I don't plan on watercoloring this. I'm just going to ink it, but I happen to like it as an inexpensive comic paper with lots of tooth, and I'm working with an 11 by 14 page, so I think I want my width to be 9, which gives me a height of 13.61. Actually, let's adjust the height instead. I like leaving about an inch or a half inch on my border, so let's go with 12 inches because that's going to give us an inch border on each side. Hit OK, and then we're going to save it. File, save as. And you know what? I don't necessarily want y'all seeing all my personal business, so we're going to pause for a second. So I created a new folder to house this, and I'm going to label it as Blue Lines, full page, actually full page 1. Ta-da! That's 1 down. Now we're going to go edit, step backward, step backward, step backward till we get to our full page again. And it's important to remember what ratio you are cropping to. Oh, that's weird. These are my last 2 pages. Why are you out of order? Well, that's an easy enough fix. Give me a sec. All right, so I'm in that folder. I'm going to rename this file full page 5 because, as those of you who watch My Life with ADHD know, I'm ADHD. So I have to correct things as I come across them. I can't think I'm gonna fix it later because that might not happen. So we're gonna go to image, image size. Now we're gonna change that to 12 like we talked about. Then we're going to go save. Save as, and that'll allow us to rename it. So this is actually page 4. We will work in backwards. Save that. And I'm just going to close that out. So now we have our first page. And this isn't like once you're used to this process, first of all, I'm sure there are shortcuts you could use to make this process go super fast. But even without knowing any shortcuts, this isn't a time-consuming process. And I want to demonstrate it for you guys because every time Inktober rolls around, people pop off at the mouth about like traditional artists looking down on digital artists. And I'm sure that does happen. Like, I'm not arguing that. But every traditional artist I know under the age of 50 uses digital processes to help make their work easier. So I can't imagine why they would say things like that. So I really want to show you guys how integral digital processes are to my traditional comic making process. I mean, it's really kind of a homunculus, I guess. But using these digital processes makes things a lot faster for me because I don't have to redraw things several times. It makes everything more accurate. It gives me the ability to resize things very easily. So I really recommend, even if you do want to work traditionally, that you learn these kind of processes because it makes it so much easier to do your work quickly. And I'm slow at drawing. It's one of the reasons I've never liked drawing in class is I'm just slow and easily distracted, and it takes me a while to think of things. And doing it digitally means that I can consistently put out content. Okay, so that is all of my files as PSDs, but like, let's pretend you want to send this to somebody. So we're gonna go open. We're gonna select all our files by holding Shift And then we're gonna go File, Export, save for web. I'm lazy. I save them as JPEGs. You should probably save them as TIFFs. Up, up, up. Save in my own personal folder. Because I'm ADHD, I also try to keep my stuff fairly organized. And I also like doing my comic process, even though I work, I'm a sole creator right now. So I do the writing, I do the inking, I do the drawing, I do everything. I like working as though we're going to send this to someone else. I just feel like it's a good practice to have. I've worked with other artists who are not used to that kind of batching, and I will get all kinds of stuff from them. So I just try to keep my stuff as neat as possible. Just, it's a good habit to stay in. Anyway, we are going to save for web, and then we're saving it as a JPEG. And honestly, that whole process is easy peasy lemon squeezy, not difficult at all if you have Photoshop. I actually don't know how to do it in other programs. I would like to learn. I've tried fiddling with it in Metabang Paint, and I could figure out how to drop my drawn blue lines. I couldn't figure out how to convert it to duotone blue. So if you know how to do this in Metabang Paint, let me know in the comments below. I'm sure it will save a life. Now, since I was so busy showing you guys stuff, I actually missed the notes on my comic pages. So we're gonna do a little addendum here, and I'm gonna show you guys some quick and dirty ways to just kind of alter. So think of it like a bonus. We're correcting our comic. Okay, so I've selected the area in question. I want to pull that out. So I'm going to copy it. See, I'm going to delete it, and I'm going to paste it onto a new layer. I'm going to go to the size adjustment tool, and I'm going to resize it slightly. And then I'm going to move it up and over a bit. And you could try putting that underneath your layer as well. So for this one, I need to pull it over somewhat. And it's important that I'm making these corrections because I'm not doing a rough stage with this. I'm going to do a lot of my corrections in pencil, and then I'm just going to ink that because I'm always exploring new ways to kind of make my process a little bit more streamlined as well. On the wrong layer. Gotta click the right layer. Did it not? Okay, fine. So we step backwards, step backwards, step backwards until it reappears. Control C, backspace, Control V, and it'll make a new layer for you. Then we're just going to drag this thing over. We want to preserve our border lines as much as we can. Otherwise, we're going to have to redraw them. And then for this panel, no change at all. So I'm going to hit save, and then I'm going to export it again. And I have a video where I use screen capture to capture my corrections procedure. So if watching me record a screen with a camcorder is so painful for you, and I could believe it, you can head on over to that video and get the same information without watching me record a screen like it's 2001. Okay, so we're flipping this panel. We've copied it, paste it back in. We're going to reselect it. We're going to go to edit, and then we're looking for transform. I believe we're flipping horizontal. Yay, I did it. Often I have to redo it because I usually pick the wrong one. And I used to feel kind of dumb about it until I saw an F-Stoppers where they admitted they do the exact same thing. And I was like, ah. And I'm resaving all of these files and replacing them. So it can be a time-consuming process to do digital corrections, but it's not a tedious process, or, well, it can be also tedious. It's not a hard process. It's not a difficult process. You could probably do this part in any program. Transform, flip horizontal. And y'all, this is like such a big part of me making comics. Like, it's not the glamorous part. It's not even the part I write or record about often, just because I think I tell myself no one's interested in it, but I forget that so many people just want to make comics and they just want to learn how to do it. So I need to stop psyching myself out. Okay, this page has no changes. That page can remain as is. This page, like, there are people who are not at all interested in seeing how any other artist works. They're only interested in how they work, and that's fine. I am intensely interested in how other artists work. Really? There you go. Okay, so we're zooming out on this one. So we're just going to resize it. And that will allow us to draw out the hand a little better. Yeah, so there are artists who are not at all interested in how other artists work, but there are other artists who are very, very interested in how other artists work. And then there's artists who really want to, like, change up their game and try new things and take new opportunities and experiment around. So I need to remind myself that, especially when it comes to traditional comics, because those skills are kind of getting lost, it's important to share this information. I want to zoom out a lot on this one, I think. Oh, okay, so if you want to maintain the ratio of what you've selected, you hold down Shift and you pull in until you got it. Now I'm thinking about drawing them pulled out enough where we can see their feet. So not cropping them at the ankles. If you're going to crop them at the knees, but not at the ankles. It looks weird. And then we can check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, we did it. So I want to thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today, bearing a little camcorder on screen recording action. I hope you learned something new. I hope you learned something useful. If you didn't quite catch it, if you want to get it again, you can check out this blog post here on converting your anything that uses non-photo blue to grayscale and then converting that to blue lines. I have often referred to it as dropping the blues. And if you are interested in watching my other video on correcting my pages, that one actually includes some redrawing. You can click the card here. They want you to space them out 15 seconds. So that's what that was all about. In my next video, I am going to cover printing out roughs because I'm doing that for my students. And then in a follow-up video, I'm going to cover printing that out onto your final paper. So thank you guys so much for watching. As always, it was a pleasure to hang out with you guys, and I hope to see you guys again really soon. If you want more making comics and zines content, if you want to learn more about making traditional comics, I highly recommend you head on over to my Patreon at patreon.com/natosoup and join the Art Nerd community. You get early access to all sorts of videos. In fact, pretty much all of my reviews run through early access on Patreon first. You get bonus content like the presentations and the resource docs that I've created for this class, and you get to help me be me and support what I do and help me make more of these videos for you guys. So I hope to see you guys over there, and I hope to see you guys again really soon. Bye, guys!